guys want to play Doom?
Brutal Doom, the complete overhaul mod made specifically for Doom 2 Hell on Earth, but also compatible with the original Doom, was made by somebody who truly understands what it's like to live in a hellish place. Brutal Doom is exactly what your parents thought Doom was back in the 90s. It is bloody. It is loud. It is intense. And by God is it glorious to play. Started in 2010 by Sergeant Mark IV and his team, and receiving steady updates ever since. Brutal Doom is the most violent Brazilian-made product since favelas. And much like the favelas, spontaneous executions are frequent. The mod makes Doom feel like a brand new game, and were it not for the familiar enemies and locations, you could be convinced that it's a modern throwback boomer shooter. The mod introduces new weapons, new gore effects, updates the lighting and adds a new particle system, and introduces modern gameplay mechanics. Almost everything has been tinkered with. For example, none of the guns are hit scan anymore, and thank God for that, because I personally can't stand hit scan weapons. In my opinion, projectiles feel fairer, regardless of whether they're feasible to dodge and keep you on your feet. Not to mention you can clearly see where incoming damage is coming from. The mod also features locational damage, so you can blast off heads and limbs to really unleash your inner sadist. Not only do we get a new SMG, the one featured in the original game's cover art, the railgun and the assault shotgun, but many existing weapons have an alternate fire mode with others able to be dual wielded. One of my favourite new weapons is Boot. With a swift kick you can knock enemies off platforms, push them to the ground, or just generally bully them. But why do that when you could just shoot them? Well, because it's really funny. One could argue that a lot of these additions are superfluous, and likely to get you killed, and to that I say, yes to both. But who cares? Will lifting an imp off the ground and beating it to death get you swarmed by his friends? Most likely, but sometimes a man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. So let's talk about the Gore Effects, the defining trait of the mod. It is called Brutal Doom for a reason. You cut through the legions of hell like a hot knife through butter. Enemies scream as they slowly bleed to death. Chunks of blood, guts and brain matter stick to the ceiling and walls, and as you walk through pools of blood, you leave red footprints in your wake as you blitz towards your next victim. It is extremely graphic for low resolution sprites, and extremely gratifying to clear out level after level of demons. It's over the top, it's a little bit silly, and it adds a lot to the feel of the game. It's also so much harder than vanilla. I can cruise through vanilla without a care in the world and hurt me plenty, but the same difficulty on Brutal Doom is another beast entirely. The added grenades have a huge blast radius. Enemies are a lot more aggressive and come in more varieties. Common enemies like the imps now lunge at you when you get too close, and many others have been given brand new moves and behaviours. And the Lost Souls are... The Lost Souls can go fuck themselves. Worst enemy in the game, Jesus Christ. But I quite like the challenge, certain enemies notwithstanding, and if a Doom pleb like me can push through it to the very end, then I highly doubt a Doom veteran would have any trouble at all. So is Brutal Doom really as good as I'm making it out to be? Well, let's be real. It's a mod led by a Brazilian, likely under constant gunfire. Of course I'm going to be generous in my praise. Living in Brazil is punishment enough. Some may not like it because it changes the Doom formula too much, but that's precisely why I do like it so much. Playing Vanilla Doom and then Brutal Doom back to back demonstrates the differences perfectly. Brutal Doom feels smoother, more refined and more modern, but in a good way. Don't go in expecting it to be New Doom. The simplest way to describe it is this. Brutal Doom is a Shia Islam to Doom Eternal Sunni Islam. Doom 3 is like Druidism or some shit. My biggest issue with Brutal Doom was not so much to do with the mod, although the new enemy AI and increased difficulty might not be helping, but it's with the games it's attached to, Doom 1 and 2. I'll be frank. I don't like old school level design. More specifically, I don't like old school crackhead level design, the type that only seems to make sense to the original developers. Old school level design is always so obtuse, yet somehow still so symmetrical. Stages are usually built around a silly gimmick, or as a confusing labyrinth, and due to the technical limitations of the time, it's hard to make sense of any of these rooms. Despite how good the gameplay may be, I find it so tedious to navigate these stages. I've spent ages just wandering around some of them trying to work out where I'm supposed to go. It isn't good, it isn't fun, and in summary, Tricks and Traps can go fuck itself. I am by no means a Doom fan, but I do love this mod. My first ever experience with Doom was in the late 90s when I watched my neighbours play the first few missions of Doom 1, then promptly shut down their PC and covered the monitor with a blanket, as was the style of the time. Since then, I've only played it sporadically over the course of my life, but enough to appreciate the novelty that Brutal Doom brings. So give it a try. It's a free mod for what some might consider a free game. It's easy to install, compatible with many other Doom mods, and is highly customizable. Don't like the new enemies and AI? Disable them. Don't like the new graphical features? Turn them off. Not a fan of having to reload? Off. Can't stand the way the game